What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of They Don't Know I Be Cooking, and today I'm going to show you how to pan sear a ribeye steak. Now this recipe is really straightforward. If you could just do me a favor and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, because I drop videos like this throughout the week, alright? And now without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what I have here is a 1 pound boneless ribeye steak. I've already washed and cleaned with water and vinegar. And now I like using ribeye steaks because they usually have a decent amount of marbling, as you see here. Also, when I'm choosing a steak to pan sear, I prefer mine to be at least about 1.5 inches thick, as this would allow me to get a nice sear on the outside without it being overcooked on the inside. Alright, now the first thing that we're going to do is get rid of some of this excess moisture. So to do so, you want to grab some paper towel and gently pat down the steak, alright? Don't forget about those edges, and we'll do this on both sides. And by doing this, this will allow us to get a more even sear on our pan. I'm going to wipe my cutting board down as well, so that I don't add the moisture back to the steak. And now it's time for the seasoning. Now I'm going to keep this very simple this time, so I got about 1 teaspoon of sea salt. I also got about 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Alright, I'm going to sprinkle about half of this on each side of the steak. And then you want to gently pat the seasoning on the steak and spread it around before flipping it over. Now of course, you can use whatever steak seasoning that you prefer. You can also just add some garlic powder to this and or some onion powder. It's entirely up to you. But just remember that when your steak is thicker, you want to be a bit more generous with the seasoning. Now if I see any leftover seasoning on my cutting board, I like to lightly season my edges. It just adds a bit more flavor, but that part is optional. Alright, so our steak is now seasoned. So now I'm going to head over to my stove where I got my cast iron skillet heating at medium to high heat. And now we're going to add some oil. You want to use an oil that has a high smoke point, so I like to use corn oil for that reason. And once it's piping hot, as you can see here, you want to add in your steak. Alright, now immediately you want to pat it down with some tongs, as this will ensure good contact with the pan. And you want to have this sear in this position for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes on each side. Now I know it's tempting, but don't move the steak around until at least 1.5 minutes. And as you can see, we got a nice sear on the steak. So the same thing on this side, we're going to pat it down. Now the moment you finish patting it down on this side, I'm going to lower the heat slightly and then add about 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We're also going to add some peeled garlic cloves. Now you can crush them, you can mince them, or leave them whole. It's entirely up to you. I'm also going to add some rosemary. And once the butter has had a chance to sort of soak in the garlic and herbs, then you want to baste the steak with the butter. Alright? So I'll do this for about 10 seconds. And now I'm going to lightly sear the edges to render some of that fat. Alright? So for a few seconds on each edge. And as you can see, there's a nice sear on that side as well. And now in total, this steak has been cooking for roughly about 4 minutes. And that's it. We have our juicy, pan-seared ribeye steak. Now this steak has a nice crust on the outside, but it's juicy and flavorful on the inside. Now I would consider this to be a medium steak, but you can cook yours to your preferred level of doneness, alright? Now as always, if you enjoyed this recipe, please let me know in the comments, and please like, subscribe, and share. And enjoy.